Hello anime figure collectors, Rock God Itachi here, and if you are a beginner anime figure collector, then a special hello to you. And yes, we are talking about on this video our display of our anime figures, because obviously we've bought them, we've decided whether we're going to keep them in the box or unbox them. This is looking at more of taking them out of the box, but still some way you could still keep them in the box and do some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about to you before we go into display, because obviously display is quite a big subject, you know, because you've got to decide, you know, how do I display them, where do I display them, what type of display do I do. Hopefully I can answer these three questions in this video. The first thing I want to talk about to you is things that can damage your figures. And you're thinking, okay, really? There are things that can damage my figures? What are they? Well, there are quite a few of them, to be honest with you, and it's not just you if you drop one of them. There is our old friend Mr. Dust, as I've already spoke about in the last video, because dust gets everywhere. So if you decide that you're going to put your figures on the shelf, the chances are you are going to end up doing a lot of dusting. It's just a given, because dust is everywhere, you can't avoid it. So that is number one. Number two is the sun. If you are putting your figures in front of your window or on your window ledge, no, don't do that. Seriously, I'm telling you right now, don't do that. Do you know why you don't do that? Because the sun will discolour the boxes, or they will discolour the figure. Okay, or it will discolour the figure, I should say. The sun can be very, very harmful. The UV rays can actually really damage the figure paint and really discolour it. So definitely don't put them on the window ledge or anywhere near the window or anywhere where sunlight is coming in. If you can find a part of your room where the sunlight doesn't reach, then I suggest you put your figures there if you can, because otherwise you're going to find it quite difficult to keep your collection in a very good condition. I can tell you a little story now that I had the Knight Rider car and the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard Corgi models, and I kept them in the box on the window ledge. Those boxes are destroyed. They have no colour in them at all. They have been absolutely destroyed, and I've learnt this lesson myself. So I guarantee you, if you put them on the window ledge, you will have nothing but misery, and you will have figures that discolour over time. They will be ruined. Now, if you have got a cabinet and your cabinet's on the wall in front of the window and you're going to get the sunlight coming in, there is a special UV protector that you can buy. I believe it's some kind of spray or kind of cling film type stuff that you can actually put over the front of your cabinet, over the glass, and what it does is it makes those UV rays bounce off so they don't go in and damage the figures, because that's generally what you do not want to happen. Another one I'm going to talk to you about is temperature. So this is number 3. Temperature, surprisingly, can actually damage your figures. I mean, if you've got them in a room that's got extreme heat, then obviously that will damage them, but also extreme cold can damage them as well. So you generally just want them in a room that's room temperature. Don't put them near a radiator. Don't put a humidifier near them either, because that's probably not a good idea. Although it just takes the moisture out of the air, it's probably not a good idea to put them near your figures or near a cabinet that's got figures if you can avoid doing that. But yeah, generally temperature can damage them as well. Number 5 I'm going to talk about is smoke. This is one where it's quite tricky for me, because I don't want to turn around and say to you, don't smoke in your own home, because that would be a bit rotten. But if you can avoid smoking in the room that's got the figures, it'd be worth it, because as a smoker you won't realise it, but your figures will smell. And if you ever did decide to sell them later on, someone could sort of turn around and say, I don't really want it because it smells. Smoke is very pungent, and it can get on the figure and it can actually damage the figure and really make it reek of tobacco and smoke. So if you can, try and avoid smoking in that room that's got figures in it. Another one is pet hair. Obviously don't put your figures low down on a shelf if you can avoid it, because if you've got animals, dogs, cats, the chances are they are going to get knocked about maybe by the pet as they're walking in and walking out, just rubbing up against them, and of course the pet hair would then sort of get into the figure, into those little crevices, and again, you know, in a way kind of damage your figure, so you don't want that. So if you can avoid putting them low down, it'd be worth it, because you'd want them up high really. So that's another one. Now the other one that I want to talk to you about is a strange one, because I haven't really heard anyone talk about it damaging your figures, but it's just something that I feel that possibly might damage them. So there's no concrete evidence that it does, but it's a possible, and that is aerosol cans. So if you use your deodorant, try not to use it next to your figures or next to your cabinet, because I feel it might damage them. I'm not too sure, and like I said, I've got no evidence on this, but by all means leave me a comment if you think that it's a yay or a nay on that one. So I think that is generally the stuff that can actually damage your figures, and we're 5 minutes in already. Wow. That went quick. Right, let's move on obviously to what we're here for, display. Now this all comes down to how many figures you've got, because if you've got one, then obviously you can't really make a display with it, but if you've got about 25, then that's a general good amount to make a display. Now the first thing you want to think about is getting a cabinet. This is my advice to you. Don't put them on the shelf. If you have to put them on the shelf, fair enough, but if you can, get yourself a cabinet. If you can get it made or you can buy one, then go for it. I advise either getting one made, because you can then have one made to your own specifications, and henceforth try and use up as much space that you've got as possible to get as many figures into that cabinet. Or the cheaper option, which I know a lot of figure collectors call it the figure collecting friend, and that is a Detolf, which you can get from IKEA for about £40. Detolfs are pretty awesome. They are quite spacious, and they are very, very good for figures. As you will see, a lot of people on MFC, or myfigurecollection.net I should say, have Detolfs and display their figures in Detolf. So it's entirely up to you what route you want to go on that one, but I would advise, if you can, get a cabinet or get a Detolf or some form of protection to go around your figures, maybe a display case if you want to have that made, because leaving them out in the open air with all the dust and everything is just generally not good for them, to be honest with you. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Now obviously if you have got your display cabinet or your Detolf, then let's look at what you could do. Now you could do characters, depending on how many characters you've got of a show. You could do the same character if you're a mad person that sort of loves I know, Tamaki Coolsucker for instance, and you've got 8 of her and you're thinking, okay, I want a Tamaki Coolsucker shelf, then you could do that. The other thing is you could sort them out by sizes, which is a tricky one, because it depends really on how much space you've got. Now I display my figures, which you will see, with the biggest at the back, the smallest at the front, and I tried to make it so every figure can be seen, because you don't want to buy a figure that's worth, again, sort of 100 and something pound, and it's sitting at the back and you can't see it. So I tried to make it generally so every figure can be seen. So again, that's something you just want to think about. You could have them as Origin if you really wanted to, and put all One Piece figures together, or Naruto figures together, whatever. It's entirely up to you. Now if you are having problems and you're thinking, I want some smaller figures at the back but I can't see them, there are some risers you can get, and these are really cool because they're like little stairs, and you can buy these little stairs. They come in different sizes, and they help you to display your figures on these tiers, and basically you can then have smaller figures at the back but they can still be seen, and they look really, really good as well. They can be quite frustrating. I've heard a lot of people say that you know, they can be quite helpful, but they can also be quite frustrating because of course they take up quite a bit of space, but it's entirely up to you how you feel about it. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is unique displays. This depends again on your personal preference. If you've got loads of figures and you feel you want to make a unique display, you know, it's quite difficult because it depends what you're going to go for. Now I will show you some that I have seen on MFC, and some nice people on MFC have let me use their photos, and I say thank you very much to you, just to show you that some of these unique displays, because they are really, really awesome, and it's quite amazing what people do. So it's entirely up to you how you want to go with this. Now I have an idea for a unique display, and I'm hoping that I can do it. I'm working on it, but I'm not sure whether it is going to go ahead or not. But what you can do is just think about something you like, maybe. So for instance, you know, I really like One Piece, so I decided that for my unique display for One Piece, I'd have my ships on the stair box with the flag underneath, and then have all the figures on shelves above it. And I called it Project New World, which you've probably seen. And obviously you see the ships there in the background on practically almost every video that I do. So that was my idea for my unique display. I was hoping to have a lot more ships on there, but unfortunately I can't find any that would look better with them, because they're actually quite big. So looking for any other ships, they're just going to be very minuscule in size compared to the other ones. So I'm not too sure what I will do yet. But what I did is I took my stair box and I just got some blue wallpaper, cut it to make it look like waves, and then stapled it on the top, and there you are. That was my sea. That was generally all I did. And then I got some hooks, put them into the wall, hung the One Piece flag or the Straw Hat Pirate flag underneath, and that was generally quite an easy display to put together, apart from having the shelves put up, which my friend put up for me. So that was, for me, again, that was quite easy to do. But there are some really amazing unique displays out there, and I definitely recommend, if you are going to go into that kind of route and put something together that's going to be amazing. Maybe you like gardening and you want to do a gardening display, you know, with sort of figures around plant pots and that kind of stuff in your room. Who knows? It's entirely up to you. But yeah, hopefully I've covered everything that I can in this display one, because I think that's generally everything I wanted to go through with you. And I will see you for part 7, where we will be looking at cleaning your figures, because obviously once you're displaying them, you've got to clean them. So that should be jolly good fun, talking about cleaning. But yeah, hopefully you will tune in for that one. So once again, I'll just say thank you for watching. Sayonara.